This just-released footage of El Chapo shows the drug lord looking teary-eyed and in shock after he was flown to New York. He now faces a life sentence at Supermax prison in Colorado.
January 17, 2018. Once hailed as the world's most powerful drug lord, El Chapo heard the words that would end his reign of terror: life in prison plus 30 years. His sentence wasn't just any prison, it was ADX Florence, America's most secure Supermax prison, a place built for control, isolation, and silence. This is a look inside America's Supermax prison for cartel members.
Hidden in this small town of Florence, Colorado, is a place so secluded and secure, it is considered the Alcatraz of the Rockies. ADX Florence is the highest security prison in the world, housing the most dangerous criminals.
ADX Florence sits in the remote Colorado mountains, far removed from the world. But within these concrete walls, the most dangerous criminals in America are held. This is the Alcatraz of the Rockies, a prison designed to break the will of even the most hardened inmates.
Supermax holds fewer than 500 prisoners. Most are here because they're too violent to be anywhere else. But this is also where America keeps convicted terrorists, more than 40 of them.
From the outside, ADX Florence looks like a fortress. Guard towers rise above razor wire fences. Perimeter sensors monitor every inch. Inside, the atmosphere is even more oppressive. Every movement is controlled. Every sound echoes off concrete. The sense of isolation is total.
It's the result of a $3 billion building spree by Congress for 47 new federal prisons. And Florence is designed to hold the toughest and most notorious inmates in the system.
ADX Florence was built for one reason: to contain the most violent, predatory, and escape-prone inmates in America. Its walls hold cartel leaders, terrorists, mob bosses, and serial killers. These are criminals who prove too dangerous for regular maximum security prisons. The philosophy here is simple. This isn't about rehabilitation. It's about control, breaking the spirit of those who refuse to follow any rules. Every aspect of daily life is designed to remind inmates of their total loss of freedom.
Our philosophy is that we don't rehabilitate individuals. We can only provide the opportunities for them to rehabilitate themselves.
Cells at ADX Florence are small, windowless concrete boxes. Everything inside is built from poured concrete: the bed, the desk, even the stool. There are no loose objects. Even the mirror is made of polished concrete or steel. No metal fixtures that could be turned into weapons. Every detail is designed to prevent violence or escape.
Inmates spend an average of 23 hours a day in a 7 by 12-foot concrete cell.
Inmates spend 23 hours each day locked alone. The only break is a single hour of recreation, alone in a concrete pit designed to prevent any communication. Even that is carefully monitored. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner are delivered through a slot in the solid cell door. The meals are basic but balanced. Each bite is monitored by cameras, and every movement is tracked by guards. Daily routine is governed by an electronic system. Each movement outside the cell involves multiple security checkpoints. Doors are opened remotely from a central control room. No two doors open at the same time, preventing any chance of ambush or escape. Staff follow strict protocols. Every action is recorded. Every interaction is monitored. Even the smallest breach of routine triggers a full lockdown. Even bathroom visits are timed and monitored. The shower is on a timer. The toilet flushes automatically, preventing flooding or misuse. The sink has no removable parts. Exercise, when allowed, happens in a small concrete cage. 1 hour a day, alone, no equipment, no human contact. Just 10 paces in one direction, 31 in a circle. Always under surveillance cameras. Always alone. Communication with the outside world is limited. Phone calls are rare and monitored. Visits happen behind glass partitions, supervised at all times. Letters are screened for hidden messages or codes. Every interaction is controlled, documented, and scrutinized. Even attorneys communicate under strict supervision. Each cell includes a built-in intercom system. It's the only way to call for help in a medical emergency or report an issue. Television is a privilege, not a right. Set in concrete, it only gets basic channels and educational programs. Even the music is carefully selected.
your connections to the outside, your family, through phone calls, visits, all those are pretty much stopped at the ADX.
This level of isolation isn't just physical, it's psychological. Former warden Robert Hood called it a clean version of hell. The intent is to break inmates' will, to prevent any organization or violence. Inmates rarely see each other. Even during recreation, they're kept in separate cages.
You talked about the brutality of isolation. What do you mean by that?
It breaks down the human spirit. It breaks down the human psyche. It breaks your mind.
Mental health is a constant concern. Clinical staff monitor for signs of psychological distress. Responses are immediate and controlled. Privileges are earned, not granted. Good behavior might mean a larger television or more recreation time. Violations mean even tighter restrictions. For many, this is a one-way trip. A few ever leave ADX Florence. The Alcatraz of the Rockies is a world apart, designed to contain those who have proven too dangerous for society. And for those inside, the routine is both punishment and protection, a daily battle against isolation, monotony, and the slow march of time. Within these concrete walls, silence replaces freedom, and time stands still. But among the countless cells, a few belong to men whose names once struck fear across nations. The Cartel Kings, whose power couldn't save them from justice.
The Supermax incarcerates criminals deemed too dangerous for the average prison, like the notorious drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman.
They once ruled with fear and fortune. Now they rule nothing, not even their own time. These are some of the Cartel Kings, trapped inside America's toughest prison.
This just-released footage of El Chapo shows the drug lord looking teary-eyed and in shock after he was flown to New York.
It's hard to fathom that the most infamous drug lord of the 21st century now wakes up every morning to the harsh routine of ADX Florence. Once commanding a multi-billion-dollar empire, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman now spends 23 hours a day alone in a small concrete cell. His world shrunk into a narrow window, angled toward nothing but sky. Guzman's journey to this extreme isolation is one of legend and infamy. His empire trafficked tons of cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, and marijuana into the US and Europe. For years, he outmaneuvered law enforcement through a combination of violence, corruption, and audacious escapes, twice breaking out of Mexican maximum security prisons. But in July 2019, justice finally caught up. El Chapo was sentenced to life plus 30 years in a Brooklyn courtroom, his fate sealed by a mountain of evidence and the testimony of former associates. The judge ordered him to forfeit more than $12.6 billion, the estimated proceeds of his criminal enterprise. But what happens when the world's most feared cartel leaders meet the world's most secure prison? Now, instead of commanding an army of gunmen, he's watched by an army of cameras. His cell is bare concrete with furniture formed from the same unforgiving material. Meals slide through a small slot in the door. Even his hour of exercise takes place alone in a bare concrete enclosure.
He now faces a life sentence at Supermax prison in Colorado, known as the Alcatraz of the Rockies.
The same man who once lived in luxury now showers under surveillance. The only entertainment, a small television playing pre-approved programming. Even visits from family, once a source of comfort, are now strictly monitored and rare. Prison officials take no chances. Every movement is monitored. Head counts are frequent. The days blend in an endless routine of isolation, a far cry from the power and luxury he once enjoyed. Once the untouchable king of cocaine, El Chapo now lives in silence. No tunnels, no escapes. Just endless days measured by concrete walls and the echoes of his past. But he's not the only one. Another name once feared across Mexico shares his concrete fate. Alfredo Beltran Leyva, known as El Mochomo, once controlled vast swaths of Mexico's drug trade. As a founding member of the Beltran Leyva organization, he was responsible for moving multi-ton shipments of cocaine, methamphetamine, heroin, and marijuana from South America through Mexico and into the United States. His criminal career began in the 1990s when he worked closely with his brothers and the Sinaloa cartel. The cartel's fracture in 2008 led to a violent war with former allies, sparking some of the bloodiest years in Mexico's drug conflict. El Mochomo's arrest in 2008 by Mexican Special Forces was a turning point, unraveling the powerful brotherhood and triggering years of bloody retaliation. Extradited to the United States in 2014, El Mochomo faced the full weight of American justice. In April 2017, he was sentenced to life in prison and ordered to forfeit $529 million, the estimated profits of his drug empire. Now, like El Chapo, he's housed in the brutal isolation of ADX Florence. The man who once commanded armies of sicarios now lives under constant surveillance, his world reduced to concrete and steel. Every day is measured in the monotony of isolation, with no hope of parole or return to power. The only connection to his former life is the rare, heavily monitored visits and the distant news from a world he once ruled. Instead of orchestrating shipments, he now counts the endless days in solitary confinement. El Mochomo's empire once spread across nations built on blood and loyalty. Now his only empire is solitude, counting days, not dollars. In a world stripped of power and pride. Yet beyond his cell, another king's story unfolds. A man whose capture shook an entire nation. Dairo Antonio Usuga David, better known as Otoniel, was Colombia's most wanted man when he was finally captured in October 2021. As the leader of the Gulf Clan, he controlled a vast criminal network responsible for massive cocaine shipments and brutal violence across Colombia and beyond.
Dairo Antonio Usuga is widely known as Otoniel and had been on the run for more than a decade.
Otoniel's criminal career began in the murky world of Colombia's armed conflict, shifting alliances from leftist guerrillas to right-wing paramilitaries, before embracing outright criminality. Under his leadership, the Gulf Clan became Colombia's most powerful drug trafficking organization, controlling key territories and trafficking routes. His capture was dramatic, a massive military operation involving hundreds of soldiers, helicopters, and sophisticated surveillance. The operation cost the lives of many law enforcement officers over the years, as Otoniel evaded capture through a network of safe houses and loyal followers. In August 2023, Otoniel was sentenced to 45 years in U.S. federal prison after pleading guilty to drug trafficking and running a criminal enterprise. The judge ordered him to pay $216 million in restitution, acknowledging the immense damage caused by his criminal empire.
This is the hardest blow that has been dealt to drug trafficking in this century in our country. And this blow is only comparable to the fall of Pablo Escobar in the 90s.
Now he lives under the same strict regime as his fellow cartel leaders in ADX Florence. The man who once ruled a criminal empire across continents now measures his days in the silence of solitary confinement. His only companions are the distant echoes of his past power and the constant reminders of his downfall. The Supermax prison holds these cartel kings in its unyielding grip, ensuring that their days of violence and power are truly behind them. The world they once controlled now moves on without them, while they face the relentless routine of America's most secure prison, alone, powerless, and forgotten by the empires they once ruled. Otoniel's empire crumbled, leaving only silence and steel. But their downfall raises a larger question. What does justice truly mean inside places like ADX Florence? Justice, at its core, is supposed to be about balance. It's about punishment, yes, but also about rehabilitation, humanity, and the fundamental dignity of every individual, no matter their crime. ADX Florence throws that balance into sharp relief. Its existence and practices force us to confront some uncomfortable questions about what justice truly means in a modern society. ADX Florence was designed to house the worst of the worst, those deemed too dangerous for regular prisons. But over the years, its cells have held far more than just the most violent offenders. Investigations reveal that many who end up in its concrete isolation chambers aren't necessarily the most dangerous, but often those deemed the most troublesome to the prison system itself. Filing lawsuits, violating minor rules, or simply being mentally ill can land someone in this modern-day fortress of solitude. And the prison's design itself tells a story about our approach to justice. Inmates spend 22 to 24 hours a day alone in cells, barely larger than a parking space. Every element of human interaction is stripped away, meals slide through slots, communication is tightly controlled, and even exercise is done alone in a barren concrete pen. This isn't just punishment, it's sensory and social deprivation at an extreme level. Medical professionals and psychologists have long sounded the alarm about the effects of such isolation. The symptoms are well documented: anxiety, depression, paranoia, hallucinations, and even psychosis. Some inmates resort to harm, while others, their minds battered by years of solitude, lose touch with reality altogether. This isn't rehabilitation, it's psychological warfare waged against the human mind. The case of Mohammed Salama, a former ADX inmate, illustrates the human cost. After being moved to ADX under special administrative measures, Salama went on hunger strike to protest his conditions. His demands were basic: more phone calls, the ability to write letters, and non-contact visits with family. The response? He was force-fed nearly 200 times over 11 years, a process described by experts as tantamount to torture. The World Medical Association has condemned force-feeding as a violation of medical ethics, yet it remains a practice at ADX. Even those who accept the necessity of harsh punishment must grapple with the implications of such treatment. When does justice cross the line into cruelty? At what point does the state's obligation to maintain security become an excuse for inhumanity? These aren't abstract philosophical questions, they're real, immediate concerns raised by ADX's daily operations. International bodies have taken notice. The European Court of Human Rights has questioned whether long-term incarceration in facilities like ADX violates basic human rights conventions. The United Nations Committee Against Torture has expressed concern about the extremely harsh regime in U.S. Supermax prisons. Perhaps most alarming is the secrecy surrounding ADX's operations. Investigative journalist Aviva Stahl noted that there's sometimes more transparency about conditions at Guantanamo Bay than at ADX, a prison located on American soil, holding American citizens. Communication restrictions, known as special administrative measures, can limit inmates to a single phone call per month, with all correspondence heavily monitored and censored. Even attorneys are often gagged from discussing their clients' conditions. This lack of transparency isn't just a bureaucratic issue, it's a threat to the very concept of justice. When the public can't see or understand what's happening inside these walls, the system operates without accountability. Justice, in its purest form, requires light scrutiny, oversight, and the constant possibility of reform. The existence and operation of ADX Florence forces us to confront what we truly believe about justice. Is it merely about locking away those we fear, or does it require us to maintain our own humanity even in the face of humanity's worst? Can a system that inflicts such psychological torment truly claim to be just, or has it crossed into something darker? These are questions without easy answers, but as long as ADX Florence stands, isolated in the Colorado desert, they demand our attention. Because what happens inside those concrete walls doesn't just define the fates of the inmates within, it represents our society's approach to justice itself. And that's something none of us can afford to ignore. ADX Florence isn't just a prison, it's a slow eraser, a place where time itself becomes the punishment. For El Chapo and others, the tunnels have ended, and the silence has no escape.